nachos, amigos, and welcome to Record Breakers, a music podcast for friends in healing, where a group of friends gather together, hang out, share music with each other, like a little bit of comfort music. I'm Petey Rave, and I can't breathe right now. Here with me is my team, my squad, my crew. We've got Brett.
I'm into ghosts.
We've got Drew.
I'm more of a fan of like demons and spirits mostly. But.
Yeah. And we've got David.
Happy cold and flu season, everybody.
Yeah.
Bustin' makes me feel good.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
But yeah, definitely busting makes me feel good. Busting these nuts.
I don't know.
The nasal voice is amazing.
Yes.
Everybody enjoy it. It may come to you from the festive Skelly Bone Man.
Yes, Skullomania. Represent Skullomania. We've got a guest this week. Not just our shenanigans. We've got a friend finally joining us. It's that time again of the cycle. We've got a friend. I'm going to let Drew introduce her, as he was the one that wanted to invite her. So, Drew, who do we got this week?
Well, somebody who's been around in our group of folks for a while and has been pestering me about this band and that band. And I'm like, yo, if you are going to suggest a band, you're bringing your ass on here. Meg, how you doing?
I'm good, and I'm just here because nobody invited me for Baby Metal, so...
Aww.
I had to do the next best thing.
Maybe they'll have
complain to me about my opinion on it.
Yes.
Yell at me on the internet.
I was extremely patient with you, just so you know.
Yes.
But I wanted to bring you guys a little.
For the record, I dig
Satan.
Baby Metal quite a bit.
Yes. Meg, you're the provider of the album. Go ahead and let us know. What have you brought for us this week?
Okay, so I brought to you the... Does anybody want to try to pronounce it before I do?
Infestissumam.
Infesting your mom.
I like infesting your mom. Okay. Not too far off. It's infest...
You're going to get on us about our pronunciation.
That's where I'm going with it.
Infestissumam. It's pretty straightforward. It's Latin, so... and
the most straightforward of languages, Latin.
Well, you can pretty much sound it out. It's very convoluted, but it's phonetic. So
it makes sense if you understand it.
Yeah. It means, here, I'll give you the translation. It means the most hostile or the biggest threat, which the theme of the album is basically the actualization of the Antichrist now here on Earth. And it is by a band called Ghost.
Yes.
Actually, on this particular album, they went by Ghost B.C, but I can get into that later.
Yes. Let's talk about expectations. I'll start with Brett. Brett, what were your expectations coming into this album?
I only knew of this band and a slight description of the band because of some internet video personalities that we follow. One of the guys had a T-shirt of it. Other than that, I will speak of a certain hamburger joint in my town that came from Chicago that will come up as well. Because yes, we have a Kuma's here. But I haven't heard a single bit of this before I came into
it. David, what were your expectations coming into this album?
Petey Rave, I will say that I did have something of an awareness of Papa Emeritus and his gaggle of ghouls. They are a band that I've heard of here and there in passing. I do not dislike them. I think they're pretty okay. They're pretty all right. They're better than pretty much everything you'll hear on regular rock radio these days. So I was interested. I had not listened to this album in particular, but when it came to the band Ghost, I had some awareness. I have a little bit of awareness of Magna Carta Cartel and another band that is somewhat affiliated with Ghost, the Great Discord. I'm a big fan of. So yeah, a little bit of awareness of these guys.
Yeah. Drew, what were your expectations coming into this album?
Well, all I knew of this band was the people talking about them and the buzz around them being that, yes, they were a metal band, but they were not your normal metal band. And it was sort of always talked about with this like sideways glance of, oh, they're kind of doing weird things with metal and they're kind of like playing around with some of the formula and they sort of go in weirder places than some bands may go. And seeing the band itself, like seeing like shots of their stage show. So I automatically knew we were getting a bit gothy, a bit artsy, but that's about what I knew. I was like, oh, okay, we're going here. But other than that, no idea. My expectations were weird.
Yeah. I was the same with Brett. I immediately knew it from Giant Ball folks mentioning them, and they were talked about it here and there. Meg, how would you describe this album musically? What would be the themes elements that you would bring out?
Musically.
Musically, I don't know. I just hear shit and I like it. But obviously it's very, well, not obvious to anybody who hasn't heard it, but theatrical, mixed. It's extremely, to me, diverse, evocative, provocative. I guess the provocative part is more like lyrically, like evocative. I think, well, I know that it's kind of a representation, a culmination of a lot of different genres, different bands. So I know that it's got a really large variation, and that's why I thought it might be, well, there's a lot of reasons I thought it might be a good album to kind of dissect.
Yeah, musically, it's really cool and interesting musically. That's for sure. Brett, how would you describe this album musically?
Well, as someone who has previously brought theatrical and offensive metal acts, I'm not against the idea. See our Guar episode. But this is different. This is much different. This isn't like melt your face technical metal. You won't hear any, throat ripping growl vocals or Halford-esque high notes. It's more drama club metal show tunes. I mean, the bit is pretty integral to the music. It does deserve some attention. Without it, you don't. It's a shtick. The shtick of being cartoonishly offensive in a music act is a classic staple in heavy metal and other genres. And I definitely I enjoy that those occur. You get a lot of again theatrics. There's a lot of vocal chorus, heavy use of organ, a lot of palm muted guitars, and a shit ton of reverb. It's kind of poppy in places. There's always a good hook. Sometimes there's dance beats. It's pretty listenable. It's not overly aggressive. It's something that you can casually listen to without it being like blow your ears up. It is very weird.
Yeah. David, how would you describe this album musically?
I would say, as someone who comes from the perspective of someone that enjoys a lot of heavier, more extreme metal regularly, Ghost is kind of the kids' table. But I mean that in a good way. All of the things that Brett said is that it's much more enjoyable in the way that it's not going to melt your face off. It's not going to be abrasive. It's not going to be overly aggressive. Ghost are a band that I think pretty much everybody can enjoy, and that's not a bad thing. There are riffs, there are melodies, and those are things that a lot of bands now have forgotten how to do. So I compliment Ghost on that.
Kids these days.
It's true. With their gent and their chugga chugga. And I compliment Ghost. I feel like they have not forgotten heavy metal's roots in the 1970s, and that's a great thing. That's a really, really good thing.
Yeah. Drew, how would you describe this album musically?
I will second what DJM said about not forgetting the roots. There were bits of like old school, early occult, like Black Sabbath stuff. There was like Iron Maiden-esque stuff. They very much wore those older inspirations on their sleeve, but it was also something that at times, weirdly enough, like Brett said, it delved into a little bit of pop territory, which I think is good for this type of band. They sort of straddle that line. The part I was not expecting is seeing the band and sort of hearing the people talk about it. I was expecting more aggression, knowing that this band definitely deals in the occult and Satan and like that sort of almost cartoony look at what that is and sort of the extreme look at what that is to sort of poke buttons and be a little bit off-putting and sort of look at what the average look at Satan, quote unquote, is in the normal dealings of Christianity, and viewing that through the other lens, I think is a really interesting take, and something that doing it in a very theatrical way is very cool. So I guess I was expecting way more aggression on the vocals than I got, and I sort of like that it wasn't that, because like DJM said, this is very approachable to a lot more people, even if it wasn't necessarily originally printed in the States because of weirdness about the labels and stuff like that. It was something that avant-garde sort of heavy metal act I think is really cool, and doing it in a way that mixes a little bit of the new school. Like you had some like chugging riffs, but they were more peppered in as taste. I think was really cool. I think the overall layering was really nice as well. But Brett said it. The themes of the theatrics are part and parcel to what this band is. So seeing the gimmick, quote unquote, and then hearing the band, it sort of all makes sense as this weird goth art piece, which is fun. Looking at Mr. Pope, you wouldn't think fun, but it was kind of a blast.
Yeah.
I mean, we were talking about the Misfits not like 20 minutes ago. So like
Yeah.
we've been around cartoonish acts that are like just some dudes from New Jersey.
Misfits.
And I will be mentioning King Diamond later on in the show.
Yeah, can't forget about old King Diamond. Although that's a little more vocal gymnastics than we got on this one. We might see some of that.
Yes. Let's talk about some of the key tracks. Meg, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
Okay, as a recovering child of the church, I enjoy some, the more choral ones. So, of course, the opening track, Infestissumam, that just sets the tone. It literally paints the photo of taking what we see everywhere, Catholicism, whatever, the big to-do, and it literally puts it in a satanic frame, which, considering it's a song that's in Latin, it's not even a language we speak, but yet I see a picture whenever I hear that. So that makes that one stand out for me. Other ones that stand out for me, Goulet, Zombie Queen, of course. Do I need to get into why? Well, of course, the switch in the middle, which I will say, the first 10 listens to this album, I switched the tracks. I didn't even get all the way through it, which is not an uncommon thing. I know a lot of other people have done that too. And boy, was I very happily surprised when I finally let it play all the way through. let's see what else is there. Year Zero, I think that's pretty much designated as their anthem. You know, it's just chanting, invoking all of these different names of whether it's Satan or demonic beings, that sort of thing. My favorite track, we're gonna come down to it. I like Blasphemy, and I don't think I've ever heard anything
I do too.
than Body and Blood. Do I comment on, like, I'm so sorry.
No.
As a recovering child of the church and just an American, like, this is all around us, especially in the Bible Belt. To finally hear a song that I didn't know could even exist about exhuming the body of Christ and then eating him and shitting it out. Like
Yes.
what? Where have you ever heard that before? I haven't, but maybe you guys have. Let's see. And then the next one I would say would just be Monstrance Clock, because again, it evokes a lot of imagery in my mind. I literally see the congregation coming together. But like I said, for me, it's a lot about imagery. It's a lot about evoking emotions, all in the name of theater. I think that's a extremely powerful and well done use of the power of shit. So that's my general overview, but of course I'd love to hear what you guys have to say.
Brett, what will be some of the key tracks for you?
Well, Secular Haze was the lead single off of this album, and it's got creepy circus organ music during the verses and strange walking bass during the chorus. It was a strange mix. There are a lot of strange things. The Zombie Queen. The only notes I took on this one, and I kept it in as such, is, quote, "Those horns sounded like butt." But that was the only time that there were horns that were in it. Year Zero, we get some of that satanic choir over palm muted guitar and like an almost disco dance beat during the hook. It's over the top and kind of silly and 6 minutes long. Definitely noteworthy. And Body and Blood, that we have a Record Breakers first. We've listened to Guar, we've listened to the Misfits, we've brought Bad Religion, but never have we had any music where somebody whispers "defecate." So yeah, like it's definitely a first. It's possibly the last. But we'll be looking for that next.
At least until I put my hot mixtape album out there.
I was gonna say, if you have an album that whispers about pooping, please bring it to us here at Record Breakers. We'd love to
send it over to @theswagger on Twitter. That's at
the Swagger.
There, I'm gonna have to search that. David, what will be some of the key tracks for you?
Well, the two that have already been mentioned, Year Zero and Body and Blood, have already been spoken about. But I do want to say, for Body and Blood in particular, that song reminded me of a band and a particular musician, also from Sweden, that I'm a big, big fan of, by the name of Don Svana. He's kind of a legend in the Swedish metal community, and also his band Nightingale. It reminded me of the band Nightingale. So Ghost fans out there, check them out. You might like them. Year Zero, already mentioned. And just because it made me laugh, Gigolo de Megiddo. That one made me laugh.
Yes. Drew, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
Well, to me, track 2, Per Aspera ad Inferi? I don't know. My Latin's bad.
Nailed it.
It should be better as an Italian, but it's just fucking not. So it began with a tone and a sound that I thought going into this I was going to get. The verse very quickly changes that in a great way. For me, this being sort of the first album I heard of them, and this the first like full like kind of song there. The beginning sort of intro song was cool, but I was like, okay, they're playing on the theater aspect of it, and then gets into this one. I was like, okay, but it gets into that and puts you in sort of like the mood of what's going to go through, which I really, really dig. And then it kind of highlights some of the parts where it's quote unquote bucking metal trends for modern metal in this, which I think is cool. And then it gets into Secular Haze next, which I'm in a goth carnival and it's great. And I love it. There's something about that like popping sort of music that I just absolutely love. I mentioned it, but I gotta mention it again. Goulet/Zombie Queen. The pretty piano in the beginning was great, and then all of a sudden it switches to like almost this surf rock feel, which look, man, yes, okay, that's awesome. It's all sort of weird, but it all works in a cool way. And then Year Zero. Year Zero I have to mention because I've done this before and I'm gonna do it every time it happens, but this reminded me of a specific sort of artsy metal band that I knew that I saw a lot of when I went to shows in Kent back when I was a kid, which is a band called Hate Dies Hard. They're very much that like the layered vocals, sort of riding the snares. In the back of my mind, all I can see is like lit candles and fog and shit, which is like I'm super down with. Like this to me, like linking it back to that nostalgia for me, like sort of makes this all come full circle in a really weird way, which I think is really cool.
Yeah. I also want to give a shout out to Idolatrine, just because of the name. It's just a nice, like, little easy, a nice little easy portmanteau, which is nice. And deserves a shout out. Let's bring it back around the horn to talk about some conclusive thoughts. Brett, what will be your conclusive thoughts on this album as a whole?
I mean, there's something here that it's super interesting, and I love that weird shit like this exists. This isn't something that I'm going to probably listen to casually, like in my office or around the house. That's on me, not on this album. Like this is a fun thing. It also makes it so that the next time I'm in Fountain Square and I'm at Kuma's Corner, I'm going to get the Ghost themed burger that is slightly controversial. It's goat shoulder, red wine reduction, and a communion wafer. I like
what?
Yes, there's a heavy metal themed burger place.
This is this is why I love Ghost. Look at the creativity it has brought into the world. Yes. Where would you?
To my burger.
Right. Can you say that one more time?
It is a goat shoulder, a red wine reduction, and a communion wafer.
Yeah.
See, that's where it loses me. That's where it loses me. It loses me
in a burger. Are really bland, guys. Like I don't know.
Right. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm.
Although, like, what I am.
I normally eat
the
mastodon.
When I'm picturing the communion wafer,
put them in the Super Bowl, you losers.
That would be weird.
From Atlanta.
But like the communion wafer, I feel like would soak up a lot of like the red wine like sauce reduction. So it would kind of also this mushy thing, which I think would be kind of delightful. But that's
okay.
I mean, I just want to see how goat shoulder works in a burger form.
Yeah.
And also, I'm surprised I never noticed this on the menu before I'm in there.
Where's this place again? It's like
it's mostly like Kuma's Corner is the thing in Chicago.
Okay.
Like they talk about it in their Wikipedia page, but it is a heavy metal themed burger bar type place, and we have one of those here in Indy.
Nice.
down next to the pin vault.
Nice.
Should open one and go.
Nice. David, what are your conclusive thoughts on this album?
I feel like Ghost has already done better with the albums that have already come out after this one. I think that's the main thing. This album is not bad by any means. I just think that musically, songwriting-wise, and overall presentation, I think their albums after this one are better. More enjoyable to me. Also, I come from the perspective personally as someone who appreciates, along with the theatrics and the aesthetics, I appreciate the overly intense, abrasive, aggressive technicality and brutality that comes with the likes of Metallica and Slayer and Merciful Fate with the aforementioned King Diamond. You look at Ghost and you might expect that, but that's not what you're going to get musically. But that's okay. What they do is really cool.
Yeah.
And
Drew,
again, if you're out there, I've given you 2 bands to check out. 1, The Great Discord, and 2, Nightingale.
nice.
Generally, this album, it's fine.
Drew, yes. Drew, what would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
Got more ditch.
I do, actually. How about that?
So this band, like I said, was something that I've had more than a few friends talk a lot about, and I've sort of looked at them and been like, this probably isn't going to be my bag, and never took the time. This show is great for forcing me to take the time on certain things where I look at it and go like, I probably shouldn't take the time. And now I'd like to see them live. So there's that. Again, like Brett said, I don't know if this type of band is my like sort of casual listen. This is not going to be my like, this is my getting shit done music. But this is going to be something that like I go back to, I keep tabs on, and if I see some of my friends are going to see them, I might be like, hey, yo, can I like tag along?
Fucking see them.
Yeah. Look, man, there's a lot of good bands that I'd like to go see. This being one of them.
There's a lot of bad bands I want to see too.
Yes.
Speaking of bad bands I want to see, I might be going to see Saves Today soon. Speaking of bad bands. Look, I need to balance out Coheed at some point. But
No, you don't. Just go see Coheed.
I've seen Coheed, they were great. But this
See
is
them again. And
One, two.
thank you,
This
scientists.
is the
They're
worst
opening
fight
act.
ever.
Do a thing. I know I want to do the thing. That's not really a fight. But it's the
Heated agreement.
back to the point. This album was something that like I very much dug on, and it was something that like now listening to it, I definitely get the sort of fandom that's popped up around them and the evangelizing, for lack of a better term, that some people have gotten about Ghost. I get it. I see
Let me
it.
tell you the good news.
They're well
brother.
done. Let me tell you about our Lord and Savior,
The
guy
power game.
that's the
We'll see.
anti-pope.
Cardinal
It's a
C.
little bit of heavy metal, a little bit of Sweeney Todd. Like, enjoy.
Yes.
Funny story. All right, not really funny. Whatever. I hated Sweeney Todd, and the guy behind Ghost hates Sweeney Todd too. But I
Yes.
can see that.
Yeah, I think this is really cool and fun. It's for some reason it can be thinking of things like the K-pop group Dreamcatcher, which is like, you know, they use metal to create catchy, fun hook-laden jams. But you know, they're even more pop than this. I think this is done well, and it's and the thing, the shtick is done well, and it's fun. I do kind of find I am amused about by the masked leader / nameless ghouls gimmick. Almost like it's a very good tool for making the band mostly expendable, which is you know, not to pull back the curtain too much. of course,
Look at that list of past members.
Yeah,
and
the fact that there's only that because of a lawsuit, which is kind of fun.
Hey, kayfabe, brother. Kayfabe. Come
on.
Live the gimmick.
Protect the gimmick.
But that being said, it's still a fun. Whether it's for the theatrics or for the logistics and for the brand, either way, it's a fun thing and it's a fun gimmick. But the music is still really cool and fun and catchy. Meg, you get the last word. What would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
Okay. The reason, despite BJM's insistence that it's fine, the reason I chose this one in particular is because this one is situated. It's a band that is telling a story with each album. And this is like coming in after the shaky pilot of a show and kind of giving you the gist of what they're about. It's setting the tone. Whereas if you came in on the next album, Meliora, you would go, why is there a fucking polar bear on this island? And you wouldn't care. So that is why I chose this one. It does feature a lot of my favorite songs. A lot of them. But it's hard for me to pick. But the reason I like this one in particular is because I feel it was a very masterful attempt at honoring metal's roots, honoring theatrical, like the power of theatrics, honoring even like the world of Scandinavian metal. Like that's totally, it's in a different world than like American metal, whatever, any other kind. So I think it's just very well crafted. I think that I kind of, in a way, sold you guys, and that's another reason I brought it, is because, as almost all of you said, I've heard of Ghost, I've heard people say it. It's one of those bands that people are probably a little too into, and that is all purposeful. Everything that you think and feel was put there on purpose because, the guy behind it is just as big of a music fan as you could probably find anywhere, and a horror fan. And the fact that it combines all these things, like you see the passion, you feel the passion, or I personally do. And I think that it's something that everybody should at least give a chance to see what a passion project is.
Yeah.
Hey, Mom, I got an album for you.
I will say, I'm looking at the Wikipedia of this album, and I looked at the line that said the album was certified gold by the International Federation of the Phonographic Industry. And I'm gonna be honest, the first time I read that, I didn't read photographic.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, and even then I was like, that makes sense. It was like a little odd, but yeah, it makes sense.
Totally.
All right, let's talk about some haikus. Let's get down to the main event of the evening. Get down to the nitty gritty. Get to our haiku reviews. Let's get to it. Do it to it. Brett, what is your haiku?
Glad that it exists. Sometimes a bit comical. Was worth the listen.
Yes. Deej, David, what is your haiku?
It's solid hard rock. Retro metal aesthetics. They have done better.
Yeah. Drew, what is your haiku?
What did I expect? I don't think I got it here. Maybe I did, though?
Yeah. My haiku. Catchy pop metal with a fun enough gimmick. 3 spoopy 5 me. And last but not least. Meg,
Spoopy,
what is your
skeletons.
what is your
Piggybacking, or just kind of touching on what Brett just said. I like this album. It has lots of blasphemy. Please don't tell my mom.
Yes. It works. That was Ghost Infestissumam.
Boo.
Defecate.
Hopefully you don't defecate. At least until you go.
I mean, it's important that you do, but
Hey, keep a high fiber diet. Keep yourself regular.
At least
We hope that you have regular bowel movements while listening to the Record Breakers podcast.
Yes.
We hope that the Record Breakers
Sometimes
podcast is a part of your balanced podcasting diet.
Yes. At least make it to the idolatry before you idol poop.
David General Mills Majors.
Yes.
Wink.
Those were our haikus. Those were our thoughts. That was Ghost Infestissumam. You can find it on our Spotify playlist if you haven't listened to it already. Play Record Breakers a home game. Do your due diligence and your due diligence. On this Spotify playlist will be next week's record, where I might still be sick when we talk about it. I apologize.
I might be too.
Yeah.
I won't be.
Yes. But it'll be my pick. It'll be Decadent by the band Decadent. A little bit of interesting Korean indie music. So yeah, check it out. Look forward to that. But that is next week and this is this week. First of all, Meg, where can people find you? What do you got going on the internet and elsewhere?
I am at I'm Not Megan on Twitter and Megzilla on Twitch.
Yes. So go check it out. And you can, of course, find the rest of us all over the internet. David is at Colby DJM. Drew is at X. Brett is at HibbityBird, HIBBI2YPIBBARD. I'm at PD Rave. The show is at 4 Record Breakers. That's the number 4 Record Breakers. RecordBreakersPodcast.com. RecordBreakersPodcast@gmail.com. Rebellion.net for this and other shows. You can find us everywhere you find podcasts. Like, share, subscribe, do all the things. Until next time, hasta los huevos.
Can somebody send PD and I some Robitussin, please?
The Tussin.
Put some tussin on it.
Corda!
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Elsie.
Defecate.